This Superstore receipt is probably sitting in your wallet right now, and what it's hiding is so disturbing, it'll shock you. Because if you're like most people, Superstore is the responsible choice. The place you go when you're trying to be smart with money. You load up the cart, flash your PC Optimum points, tell yourself you've beaten the system, and roll out feeling like you just pulled off a tiny, wholesome heist. But what if I told you the system has been beating you the whole time? Not with one obvious scam you can point at and rage about for 30 seconds. I'm talking about a perfect storm of price optics, loyalty tricks, limited time psychology, and a corporate history that has a way of making Canadians ask a question you never want attached to a grocery store. Can we even trust you? Today, we're going inside the Superstore machine, the stuff shoppers whisper about in parking lots, the controversies that keep resurfacing, the little design choices that quietly steer what ends up in your cart. And by the end of this, you'll never look at a sale sign, points offer, or a self-checkout screen the same way again. Let's break it down. The Superstore promise. Big store, bigger savings. Real Canadian Superstore sells a specific feeling. Not just groceries, but relief. The idea that even when rent is up, gas is up, and your group chat is turned into a weekly therapy session about food prices, there's still one place you can go to stretch a paycheck. It's the warehouse vibe. Wide aisles, giant pallets, bulk packs, and that subtle message that you're shopping like a boss. They've got store brands positioned as the smart choice. Giant end caps screaming value, and a layout that makes you feel like you're doing something financially responsible just by walking in. That's why this matters. Because when a store becomes a financial lifeline, the power dynamic changes. You're not just choosing between grocery options, you're choosing between coping strategies. And that's exactly when marketing stops being fun and starts being dangerous. The price tag mystery. Why your cart feels heavier every week. Here's the first uncomfortable truth. Grocery pricing isn't just about the sticker on the shelf anymore. It's about the story attached to the sticker. Walk into Superstore and you'll see a constant drumbeat of value. Big yellow tags, multi-buy deals, member pricing, points back, app-only offers. But that noise can make it harder to notice the simplest reality. The total at the end keeps climbing, even when you swear you bought the same stuff. Part of it is inflation, sure, but part of it is also the way modern grocers play a game of perception. If the regular price creeps up quietly and the sale price looks like a rescue, you feel grateful instead of suspicious. You don't ask, why did this become expensive? You ask, how lucky am I to catch it on sale? And then there's shrinkflation, the silent villain. Same box, same branding. Slightly less inside. A bag that used to last a week now lasts 5 days if you blink too hard. It's the kind of change your brain struggles to track because the packaging stays familiar, like a friend who keeps borrowing money and smiling. Even worse is the confusion layer, the tags. If you've ever grabbed something because the shelf label looked cheaper, only to watch the price jump at the register, you know the feeling. Not outrage at first. More like embarrassment, like you misread something. Like it's your fault for not decoding the tiny text. And that's the genius of it. A pricing system that makes shoppers doubt themselves will always win. The bread that broke trust. When mistakes stop feeling accidental. Now we need to talk about the scandal that, for a lot of Canadians, permanently changed the way they hear the word grocer. Years ago, Loblaw and its parent company George Weston admitted they participated in an industry-wide bread price-fixing arrangement connected to allegations that packaged bread prices were manipulated for years. That's not a random rumor. It's part of a real long-running case that led to major lawsuits and a massive settlement process that's still in the public conversation today. Let that sink in. Bread, the most basic, we're just trying to survive the week item, the thing people buy when they're cutting back on everything else. That was the product linked to a scheme serious enough that Canadians started talking about groceries the way they talk about telecom bills, like it's designed to be confusing on purpose. And yes, Real Canadian Superstore is one banner under a massive corporate umbrella, but shoppers don't separate the brand experience from the corporate history. They feel it in the aisle, in the trust that gets chipped away every time someone says, "Remember the bread thing?" Because once a company's been tied to something like that, the question becomes bigger than bread. It becomes, if they did it there, where else could they push the line without us noticing? Points, data, and the new currency. You didn't know you were spending. Okay, now let's talk about PC Optimum because this is where the modern grocery game gets almost sci-fi. On the surface, it's cute. You earn points, you get money off later, you feel like a genius when you stack offers and walk out with free groceries. It's gamified savings, like a little dopamine reward for being a loyal shopper. But loyalty programs aren't charity, they're strategy. Every time you scan that card or app, you're not just collecting points, you're feeding a profile. What you buy, how often you buy it, when you buy it, what offers make you bite, whether you splurge on snacks after 9 p.m. or only buy toiletries when there's a points event. The program doesn't just reward you, it studies you. And here's the twist. The more they learn, the more personalized nudging becomes possible. If they know you'll always buy a certain cereal, no matter what? Why would they need to discount it for you? Instead, you get an offer on something you weren't planning to buy, something that feels like a deal, something that nudges you into spending more overall. That's why a points offer can feel like a win while your total still climbs, because the reward is often designed to keep you in motion, not to set you free. And even when you redeem points, notice what happens. You tend to treat it like found money. Upgrade the brand, add a dessert, grab an extra item because it's basically paid for. Congratulations, you just turned a discount into a bigger basket. The in-store trap, how the building itself pushes your buttons. If you think all of this is happening only in pricing and points, look around the store. Superstores are engineered environments. The bakery smell? That's not accidental. The rotisserie chicken aroma drifting across the entrance? Also not accidental. The placement of essentials deep into the aisles so you have to pass temptations to reach milk? You guessed it. And then there's the trap for tired people, self-checkout. It's sold as convenience, but it shifts the work onto you. You scan, you bag, you troubleshoot, you stand there while a screen politely orders you to place item in bagging area. If something scans wrong or an item is mislabeled, you're now in this awkward moment where you have to decide whether it's worth calling someone over, holding up the line, and feeling like the problem. So you let it go, you pay, you move on. 1,000 tiny not worth it moments add up, not just in dollars, but in learned helplessness. You start believing the grocery total is a force of nature instead of choices made by companies with targets. And right when you're at your most exhausted, the store hits you with the end cap displays. Holiday candy that appears 2 months early, limited edition flavors, family-sized chips that somehow evaporate the minute you get home. It's not just shopping, it's psychological warfare with fluorescent lighting. Why Canadians got angry enough to boycott? If you've been online at all in the past couple of years, you've seen the frustration boil over. Shoppers comparing receipts, posting photos of price jumps, swapping strategies, talking about corporate profits while families cut back on basics. It wasn't just grumbling anymore, it became a movement. In 2024, a highly visible boycott targeted Loblaw-owned stores, including Real Canadian Superstore, driven by customers who felt groceries had become unaffordable and that the big chains weren't listening. Whatever you think of the boycott's impact, the fact it happened at scale tells you something important. Trust cracked loud enough for people to coordinate their anger, because when the price of food becomes a moral issue, it stops being shopping and starts being personal. People don't just feel broke, they feel played. And that's the point where a brand's biggest asset habit turns into its biggest risk. When shoppers break routine, even for a month, they start noticing alternatives. Discount competitors, Costco runs, local markets, the kind of changes that can stick. So what do you do with all this? You don't have to swear off Superstore forever like it's your toxic ex, but you do need to walk in with your eyes open, because the store is counting on you being tired, distracted, and hopeful. Hopeful that points will save you. Hopeful that a deal means the regular price was fair. Hopeful that the brand's friendly image equals friendly behavior. And once you see the machine, you start noticing the patterns. The way prices rise quietly and discounts get louder. The way value is performed, like theater, while the register total tells the truth. The way a loyalty program can feel like a coupon book while acting like a tracking device. And that's where the real shock lands. The most expensive thing you might be giving Superstore isn't money, it's your predictability. Because predictability is what lets a company model you, nudge you, and profit off your routines. And the moment you become unpredictable, switch stores, change brands, skip the impulse aisle, stop chasing points, offers like their side quests, the power shifts. But there's one more part people don't talk about, the part that's so ordinary it hides in plain sight. And it explains why you can walk out thinking you saved money while the company still wins. Because every line item tells a story. What they discounted, what they didn't, what they quietly swapped to a different size, and which much savings were just points dangling a carrot. Look at your receipt the next time you shop. Really look at it and ask yourself a question most people never ask out loud. Why did I buy this? That question sounds simple, almost silly, but it's the one question the Superstore system works hardest to keep you from asking. Because if you ask it honestly, if you trace every purchase back to the moment it entered your cart, you start seeing the invisible hands. You start seeing how the store doesn't just sell food, it sells decisions. And once you notice that, it gets harder to unsee. The receipt test, the savings that cost you more. Let's stay on that receipt for a second, because the receipt is the only part of the store that can't smile at you. This is where the math lives, and the math is often rude. You'll see multi-buy deals that made you buy two when you wanted one. You'll see limit 4 offers that turned into a mini hoarding moment because you panicked that the price might never be that low again. You'll see items that were on promotion, but only if you scanned your app, activated the offer, and met the conditions that somehow always require you to buy more. And yes, points. The points line is the most psychologically powerful part of the receipt because points don't feel like spending, they feel like winning. But here's what most people don't calculate. Points. Offers are often structured to shift your basket toward the store's priorities. Maybe they're trying to clear inventory. Maybe they're trying to push a house brand. Maybe a supplier paid for feature placement. The offer is rarely random generosity. It's a steering wheel. It can also create a weird illusion of rebate shopping. You end up paying full price now for the promise of savings later, which is kind of like buying a coupon with your own money and then calling it a gift. And the kicker? Lots of points expire unredeemed. People forget. People get busy. People switch stores. Apps log them out. Life happens. A loyalty program loves almost redeemed. It's the business equivalent of selling gym memberships to people who don't go. So when you're standing there thinking you're beating the system is quietly betting on your future forgetfulness. The store brand switcheroo. When no name isn't just a budget choice, let's talk house brands, because this is where the Superstore ecosystem becomes a closed loop. No name, President's Choice. These aren't just store brands, they're strategy brands. They're designed to make you feel like you're not paying corporate prices while still paying corporate prices to the same corporate family. And look, store brands can be genuinely good. Sometimes they're made by the same manufacturers as name brands. Sometimes the quality is comparable. I'm not here to tell you every PC product is evil. Some of them are great, but think about what happens when you switch heavily into house brands. You become more locked in. If you fall in love with a specific PC sauce, a specific no-name cereal, a specific President's Choice snack, you now have fewer easy substitute stores. You've trained your taste buds into a subscription, and the more shoppers rely on house brands, the more leverage the chain has over shelf space and pricing. They can push competitors out of prime spots. They can control the narrative of value. They can make the name brand look outrageously expensive right next to a slightly cheaper store version. And suddenly, the store brand feels like a rescue boat. It's not just cheaper, it's positioning. And once a store controls enough of what you habitually buy, you're not comparing groceries anymore. You're comparing ecosystem, the sale hall of mirrors, what you think you saw versus what you actually paid. Now, let's get into one of the most infuriating shopping experiences, the sale sign that feels like it lied to you. Sometimes it's not even a lie. It's a technical truth, the kind of truth that makes you want to become a lawyer just to survive grocery shopping. Maybe the discount is only for a certain size. Maybe it's only for a certain flavor. Maybe the photo on the tag shows one product, but the fine print applies to a different one. Maybe it's a buy two price, but you grabbed one because you're not running a household snack economy. And then there's member pricing, which has become a whole new genre of grocery reality. The store can advertise a lower price, but only if you scan your loyalty card. That means the store essentially has two prices, the regular one and the prove you're trackable one. It's a subtle shift, but it's huge because it conditions shoppers to accept that privacy has a price tag. Don't want to scan? Fine, pay more. And even if you don't care about data, it still changes the psychological shape of shopping. You feel like you're getting punished if you don't participate. That's not a discount. That's an ultimatum with nice typography. The labor reality, the human cost behind efficiency. Here's where things get uncomfortable again, because grocery stores don't run on vibes. They run on people. When a chain leans hard into efficiency, it often means pressure travels downwards, fewer staff on the floor, more responsibility per worker, faster restocking, faster checkout, fewer minutes to breathe. And you feel it as a shopper. You feel it when aisles are cluttered with pallets because there aren't enough hands to move products smoothly. You feel it when the self-checkout attendant is managing 10 machines like an air traffic controller, sprinting sprinting between flashing red lights. You feel it when nobody is available to help because everyone is stuck in a system designed to run lean. The thing is, when staff are stretched thin, mistakes happen. Pricing errors, stocking errors, expired items missed, mislabeled products, those become more likely in an environment where workers are racing the clock. So that efficiency isn't just an internal business metric. It changes the quality and safety of the experience you're paying for, and it adds a weird moral tension to self-checkout. Because if you mess up a scan, you can feel like a criminal. But if the store's system is designed to offload labor onto customers, is it fair to treat customers like employees and suspects at the same time? It's like they want you to do the job, but also want to watch you like you're doing it wrong. The security theater. Why you feel watched buying bananas. Speaking of being watched, have you noticed how modern grocery shopping can feel weirdly intense? Cameras everywhere, gates, anti-theft tags on basic items, self-checkout alerts, random receipt checks, sometimes even security guards posted near the exit like you're trying to sneak out with a loaf of bread under your jacket. And here's what that does psychologically. It turns ordinary shoppers into anxious shoppers. When people feel watched, they rush. When they rush, they make mistakes. When they make mistakes, they're more likely to just pay and leave rather than challenge a price mismatch or question a tag. It's not just about theft prevention. It can also discourage friction, because friction costs stores money. Price disputes, slow lines, complaints require staff. Refunds are annoying. The ideal shopper from a corporate perspective is the one who keeps moving. So the store becomes a funnel. Steer decisions in, move bodies forward, reduce questions, and keep the machine flowing. The monopoly feeling, when you don't have a real choice. Now we have to address the biggest emotional driver behind the Superstore backlash. People feel trapped. In a lot of places, especially outside major city cores, you don't have 10 competing grocery chains within 10 minutes. You might have one big chain and a smaller option that's either more expensive or less stocked. Maybe you have a Walmart, maybe you don't. Maybe you have a local store, but it can't compete on selection or pricing. So when a giant chain dominates, even if you choose it, the choice doesn't feel free. And that's why the anger gets so hot. Not because people expect perfection from a grocery store, but because food is not optional. You can skip Netflix, you can cancel a gym membership, you can wear last year's shoes. You can't cancel dinner. So when a company linked to past pricing scandals, operating within a highly consolidated grocery landscape, asks you to trust their value messaging, people don't just get annoyed, they get personally offended, because it feels like the system is squeezing them and then asking them to smile at the checkout. So should you stop shopping there? Here's the honest answer. You don't have to boycott Superstore forever to protect yourself, but you do have to stop shopping on autopilot, because autopilot is what the system eats for breakfast. If you're going to shop there, you have to shop like someone who understands the game. You treat points like a coupon, not a lifestyle. You compare unit prices, not just sticker prices. You watch for size changes. You challenge mismatched tags. You stop letting limited time offers rush you. You plan your route through the store like you're avoiding emotional landmines, because you are. And most importantly, you give yourself permission to switch it up, even occasionally, because even one changed habit can break the predictability loop. If you buy your staples somewhere else once a month, you start seeing price differences clearly. If you rotate stores, you stop believing any one chain's value narrative. If you explore local alternatives for produce or meat, you realize some of what you're paying for is convenience and branding, not quality. And that's the point of this video, not to tell you to panic, but to make you aware. Because the real secret behind real Canadian Superstore isn't one single scandal or one single trick. It's the way a modern grocery giant can turn shopping into a controlled environment where you feel like you're saving money, while the company quietly builds a system that profits from your habits, your exhaustion, and your trust. So next time you're standing under those bright lights, reaching for an item you didn't plan to buy, hearing your stomach say, just grab it, and your brain say, it's on sale, pause. Ask the one question that breaks the spell. Did I choose this? Or was I guided? If this video made you look at grocery shopping differently, drop a comment. Tell us your wildest Superstore price shop, or the moment you realized a deal wasn't really a deal. And if you know someone who's living off points offers and coping vibes right now, send them this. Because the more people understand the machine, the less power it has.